You have no idea how hard it is to be neutral, especially when someone's attacking you. Sometimes I think of some of my patients just acting like toddlers that can throw tantrums. Yeah, big toddlers that sometimes they can become really strong if they start hitting you. You always want to be on their same level. That's how you also are less threatening. Get on my stomach, like drop down to my stomach and put my head on the ground. Both the nurses thought it was so weird and funny, but it worked. Kind of, in the sense that he was able to respond to me. He was still upset, but I had a conversation with him of how we could best help him. Oh my God, it is so real. This is why doctors have such struggle dealing with individuals with a disorder, even people who are trained and have done this for years. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Moss. I'm a first year psychiatry resident. I am so excited because I'm going to do something special. I'm going to react to the adolescents. I'm going to diagnose them and different things that happen throughout this episode that lead me to diagnose them that way. Now, why am I doing this? Because I saw it and I just kept pausing the episode like every 5 or 10 seconds. I was like, oh my God, this is like my day to day as a psychiatry resident on the inpatient ward. I felt like I was probably driving my husband a little crazy. He's a neurology resident, so he's like, yeah, I can do what you do. So let's see what it's like going in on the inpatient ward. This was adolescents. I'm going to be particularly talking about the third episode because that's when a psychologist goes in and does an evaluation of the patient. Since this is just a TV show, it is not someone in real life. So I am going to, one, notice different things that the psychologist does well. This is helpful to understand if you are maybe going into psychiatry or you're rotating on a psychiatry ward. I'm going to say different stuff that's, yes, they did this right. They're doing their safety right, or no, I wouldn't do this that way. Now, I'm a first year psychiatry resident, actually almost a second year. Whew, where has the time gone? And I'm going to share my perspective, any tips. Now, obviously, I have so many more years to go, but I'm going to use a little bit of my psychology bachelor's degree, a year in psychiatry residency, and just I've always been interested in psychiatry, so I'm always listening to podcasts and books about it. So anyway, let's go in, starting off. Okay, so already starting off, patient. So you walk into the room, patient is over in the far side. That's pretty common. I usually see patients in their room or if I bring them to like a own separate room. But what's interesting about this room is there's windows. So make sure you don't lock yourself ever in a room with a patient that you don't know in a closed room. Sometimes I've done that accidentally, not locked. That would be scary. More just make sure you like keep the door cracked, make sure you go with there's windows so you never know how someone's going to react as you see later on in this episode. And so it's always good for your own safety. Okay, good. The psychologist is seeing the patient. She addresses them right away with her own name. She says a simple hi, and addresses him by his name, always a great way. You might find it's interesting she doesn't shake his hand. This is not just a COVID thing, and there is mixed feelings on this. Sometimes in the outpatient world, it's more used to shake the hand, but using a trauma-based perspective, you don't want to touch the patient because you don't know how they're going to react. You don't know if someone takes that as a stress response, sees that as unsafe. So just showing a nice posture. She is relaxed. Her hands are where the other person can see them. She's not crossed. She doesn't have a closed posture. She's open, hands down. So I love that. And she has a nice, sweet, calm, not aggressive smile. I love that she brings him hot chocolate. I think it is definitely, especially if we're talking about a kid, forming that bond relationship, making them have a positive connection. This is not the first time she's met him. It sounds like she's met him a couple times. So the fact that she remembers that he likes a certain flavor is amazing. You're forming that trusting, I care about you. This is something that I know will help. Maybe we're about to talk about a very stressful topic. Sometimes I've done this in the past with bringing them a snack that I know they like, or I've seen them eat in the past, or a cup of water. Like providing them something, it's like a give and take type thing. I'm giving you something so you can give me information about your life. Same thing with the sandwich, so cute. And it's funny, they have a little banter of, oh, I don't like this. You can tell. Oh, I love that she sits down right away because that is so important to sit down with your patient and encourage them to sit down. It's interesting, she sits down first. Like I said, she's had a relationship with him before. So they've already established that expectations. It's important to show that expectations. Usually, when I take a patient into a room, I'm like, choose any chair you want or take a seat over there. Really important to sit down with a patient or sit down with an individual because it automatically just relaxes them, helps them relax, help you relax. It also helps because we're going to talk about safety. And I know this is a placement for the TV show. You should be closer to the door. So if the table was more facing patient looking at the door, you facing away from the door, she should have the quickest access to the door. I like that there's a table in between her because like he can't physically reach her. That's important, even though it's just a young kid. He's so cute, but still, as we know in this episode, or if you just watched the trailer, this kid can get violent. And especially when walking in to a patient that you just saw is violent or has the capacity, everyone really has the capacity to be physically violent if they're upset enough. So she should have placed herself between the door and him, but obviously cinematic purposes. I like how she's relaxed. I'm liking how she's sitting with her back against the chair. This will be really important. There's going to be a lot of stressful confrontations and discussions during this. And there are a lot of times that even I have to do it, like really ground myself while watching this episode. But being with other patients where they're sharing very emotional stuff, and in order for me not to react as strongly, or just really to help myself keep going, get through the session, like having my back against the chair, a foot on the ground. You can see her foot, one is her foot's on the ground. Taking deep breaths and feeling the back, really connecting with the body is so important. Normally, I would recommend having your hands on top of the table, but obviously it shows that she's relaxed. The reason I say is because he can maybe assume that there's nothing in her hands. And so, especially individuals who grew up in a traumatic environment or grew up on the streets, like they have been trained to like anything can be used as a weapon. So showing that you don't have a weapon yourself is important. And then to help them feel better. And then also similar while you're seeing the patient when you first walk in. I remember my EMT training is first look around, where's your safety? And that's the same thing as like door behind me. Is the patient safe? What could the patient use as a weapon? These chairs, oh, okay, let me get into these chairs. These are not real psych chairs, as you will see later on when okay, fine, I'm going to give some little tiny things. He is going to throw the chair, but I'm going to think about it. Could he throw the chair? Could he throw the table? Could he throw that hot chocolate and burn me? Maybe burn himself. Throw that sandwich back at me. That's all that I see here. But anyway, why is it not the same as a psych chair? They're heavy, like the real psych chairs. So I don't know the exact pounds, maybe like 50 pounds or something, but you cannot physically really pull them up. Even if you're really strong, they're just very weighted. I think of like my karate, like kickboxing bag. It was really heavy, very weighted and circular. So that's how they normally are. So people can't throw them at each other. Okay, let's keep going. See, this is why this 47-minute long episode took us probably 2 hours when I was with my husband over this weekend because I kept pausing it. Anyway, we'll keep going. Self-disclosure. Oh my God. So many things to talk about. So she was like, oh, my mom too. My mom makes sandwich. So one, very neutral. It's not asking like, what her mom does, what her mom's name is, where her mom lives, because you have to keep safety of your own family members. So always when I teach other medical students and other people, and I have a Doc70 article coming soon, so keep an eye out for that on self-disclosure, how to do it appropriately. And there's so much debate on this, especially in the psychiatric community and psychology community, because you're with individuals that could be unsafe and could use that either against you, could use that to hurt you emotionally or physically. But so you always ask, one, is it safe to do? Is it neutral? And how will this help our relationship? So from this, all she's saying is, oh, my mom too. Connecting that relationship of the purpose is he's having memories of a family member. And so she can show, oh, I also have a similar family member. Again, forming that connection, which is so important with kids, especially that it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust strangers, which is a good thing. We want kids to be stranger danger. So when forming a good relationship with a child or a teen, in this sense, adolescent, it's good to find those little tiny things that you can connect on, whether that's sports, whether that is liking the similar sandwich, whether if that's their parent, their mothers have both shared a sandwich.
You sound like a granny.
Do I?
Oh, you got your colour back. You can't have been that ill.
It's a good voice.
Oh, this kid, he is so receptive and I'm going to explain later on what I'm going to diagnose him with and different things that happen throughout this episode that lead me to diagnose him that way, because it's a diagnosis we don't talk a lot about, like in medical school or in society. We more like to say the big names: depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia. This one's very specific. Anyway, so she says, you got your some color back, and you can tell he's anxious. He's like fidgety. He doesn't know where to put his hands, touching his face. I'm getting a nervous tick out of him. And you can see what I'm doing as a psychiatrist. I'm doing mental status exam like every single second. I'm analyzing how he's sitting, how he's looking. So she just noted, she states what she sees, and he responds to that. And it's interesting that he does, because he becomes defensive. She says, oh, you got your color back. And he says, what's that supposed to mean? So it wasn't a curious response. I guess it is a little curious, but you can hear that dagger punch of being like, oh, you're judging me. And that judging component and being very self-conscious and projecting that judgment will be very important for the diagnosis. Okay, let's keep going. Interesting. And then he's going to talk about using a voice, making fun of. Yeah, that's true. He felt judged, and then he attacked her, saying, you sound like a Grammy, as in a negative thing. And why do I say a negative? Because he then uses this high-pitched voice as a mocking. So it's not someone that you would say he like respects or look up to, like he's mocking, which is so common with this mental health condition, is like immediately you say something, boom, slap back. You say something else, boom, slap back.
Colour back. You can't have been that ill.
It's a good voice.
She's so nice. I also love this episode because I'm like,
Do you see your grandparents
I
much?
need to learn how to do this. So I can also be a better psychologist. Like, instead of her being defensive back, she remains neutral. And this actor, hats off for the therapist who trained her. Like, whew, you have no idea how hard it is to be neutral, especially when someone's attacking you. The kid is saying that she's acting like an old woman. What if that is something that you're personally worried about? Like, worried about your age, or worried about how you're perceived, you're working hard to make a positive impression. Ooh, positive impression, positive relationship. But also, what's going back to what's the purpose? This psychologist's purpose is to understand this kid. It's not to become his friend. It's not to become his long-term therapist either or psychiatrist. It's to get an understanding of who he is and if he understands what he did. Yeah. Try not to give spoilers. But if you just see the trailer, you'll figure out what he does.
Do you see your grandparents much?
So she turns it around so quickly. She says, "Oh, that's a good voice, really." Just stating a fact. It's also positive. And then she turns that quickly into a question. And it's important. There are two different types of questions. They're closed-ended, yes, no, which interestingly, so in med school, it was something that we were encouraged trying not to do and always use open-ended questions to allow the client to talk more, especially clients that are closed off. But it works for this patient and this diagnosis because they like talking, especially talking about themselves to a degree. And so by her saying, "Do you see them often?" He like then goes into a story. And so really goes into like, it's also good because she's not talking about anything that would be in his control, which is also going to be important for this diagnosis, is struggle with being in control. And so he cannot control what adult grandparents of whether he sees them a lot or not. So yeah, then they start going into a conversation, getting the reason she goes into this, and it's important to talk about this because you might ask, why is she going into such depth about the grandparents, about the parents? And especially for children, this is why I like child and adolescent psychiatry, is the kids can be a reflection of the parents, not all of it, but they absorb everything. The environment individuals grow up in addition to genetics, in addition to what happened in the womb, if there was stress in the household, smoke in the household, toxins, as they're growing up, they're learning how to interact. They're learning what's good, what's bad, what's love, how to express different emotions, what's safe. She's really trying to get an idea of the family structure. And that is one of the things I want to start doing on inpatient. Something I had learned before is there are two things you want to do, especially with trauma patients. You want to get a timeline of their life from birth to and put major events, really good to understand. Okay, they had a suicide attempt. What happened before that? What happened during this? What happened when they started cutting? What happened when they stopped cutting? So going to big moments, what happened when they graduated? Really good to get a timeline. I actually just did that with a patient because it was just so complicated and they were like this patient in the sense, similar diagnosis and a lot of trauma history and just, it was a lot. It was like all over the place. So it was just helpful to really understand my patient, get a timeline of okay, and also make a pedigree. That's also what I did because this patient had like different family members. We're talking about mom had an ex and a birth father of the patient, and then dated someone, then married, and then there were all these kids, and then the other father like had all these kids and families, and there were different fights between them or different traumas between each of them. The patients had spent different time in different homes. So that's why the therapist or psychiatrist is good to create kind of a timeline and pedigree. Pedigree, just like in genetics, but for psychology.
No gravy. Such a shame. Or like a slice of my.
It's so interesting. This kid keeps, part of it is, okay, is he mocking his different grandparents? But let's go beyond that. He's mirroring, he's taken in a perception of who they are based on his experience with them. And he's showing, instead of describing to the therapist who they are or what they mean to him or different emotions that, like whether he loves them, whether they're funny, he has this picture in their head of who they are, what they sound like, and then he's verbally repeating them. So I'm getting a good idea of this kid, of how he interacts with the world around him. He takes in little snippets and puts them of, you are this. Fascinating. This is a good view this of what we were talking about before of door, windows. I wish the security guard was different looking in. He does like those, you can't hear what's going on. But if something happened, I would hope that he would be able to get in quick enough. It takes time to pick up the microphone, the person that's watching the cameras. Even our psych unit, most psych units have cameras for this reason to make sure people are safe for themselves, other patients, and for the healthcare providers. So when someone, because I actually just had a patient like a couple days yesterday, asked me like, what would happen if I became aggressive? And yeah, you have to take in context. They were holding their emotions. They were scared of like letting go and showing everyone their emotions. It was sadness, but even if it was even like his anger, he was scared that if he showed any emotion, he could go to jail. And so I had to talk him through, no, what's the worst that can happen? Let's talk about it. And through talking about it, helped him feel a lot better. And it was the first step, I hope, to really opening up and feeling safe with showing their emotions. And that is another trauma response from when this patient was a kid. If they grow up in a household where any emotion they show is wrong and they get slapped or sent to their room or go without dinner, they like a negative response. So they learn I just can't show any emotion. Going with, so in a psych unit, we have different ways to protect ourselves if a patient does get violent or starts yelling. I've been yelled at patients by patients. I don't yell at patients. The first step is de-escalation verbally, talking to them, talking through their emotions, seeing what they want, and seeing if we can connect them. Because usually it's simple enough that people aren't listening to their needs or just assuming they're going to become aggressive when they just don't know how to express their emotions. Sometimes I think of some of my patients just acting like toddlers that can throw tantrums. Yeah, big toddlers or big 5-year-olds that sometimes they can become really strong if they start hitting you, but like you have to break it down to that because to that mindset because that's might be the safety that they're at in their mind. And I'm not saying their intellect is the same as a toddler, but their emotional response sometimes still is because that might be where they're stuck in their development socially or just how they understand their emotions. Okay, so how it works is verbal de-escalation. This is a lot what we do whenever there's a problem, whenever I'm on call and they call it psych crisis or they call me to discuss a problem that patients are not happy with each other, not happy with the nurses. But anyway, verbal responses first. Second is offering something to help them feel better. We help symptoms, helping decrease anxiety, stress, pain, uncomfort. And once they say yes, and then provide them options. Do you want to go do you want to go to your room and lie down? Do you want to go to the quiet room? Sometimes people just need time to decompress and de-escalate, especially if they have ADHD or autism spectrum, like just getting away from people and just decompressing. That can help so much. Okay, so meds. And then we offer, okay, can I offer you a pill? Do you want a pill that dissolves in your mouth? Do you want an injection? Which I was so surprised. I thought people would not want injections. I've definitely had patients that are like, give me it because they know they feel better after. So option either if they want if they say injections, could I've had a patient that says yes to injections and the only way that they like be given the choice is right butt cheek or left butt cheek. Works. They like I've had a patient that would literally drop his pant down on butt cheek and say, right. Yeah, it is fun. Anyway, oh, and I guess, okay, refuse medications, also say, provide them the options, provide them, and I guess this goes later when he does become aggressive, is restraints, which surprisingly, and I'm so glad, restraints are the last option. I feel like sometimes in the regular hospital, they jump to restraints way too quickly. On the psych ward, that's our very last thing to go to because there are so many things that work well. But let's say a patient is super aggressive, they are not responding to verbal de-escalation, offering medications, offering to go into their room, and they do have to call the security to tackle them, which is so traumatizing the very first time I saw that on the unit. Because that was just like my first month as an intern. But I remember I had my first psych crisis and I ran up and my heart was pounding. I was terrified. And I get up there and the tackle had already happened. So the patient was face down, security guards on the arms and legs. And this patient was a huge individual. Like they needed 4 or 5 people to hold him down. And they're all looking at me. And I'm like literally a month as a doctor and I'm all alone. I figure out what's going on, then I plop on the floor because I'm not going to talk down to the patient, just like this. Sitting with the patient, you always want to be on their same level. That's how you also are less threatening. Get on my stomach, like drop down to my stomach and put my head on the ground. Still good distance, but I'm like, hey, how can I help you? What's going on? I'm doing that verbal escalation on the floor. All the nurses thought it was so weird and funny, but it worked. Kind of, in the sense that he was able to respond to me. He was still upset, but I had a conversation with him of how we could best help him. And I remember that they even asked me if they can pick him up and take him to the restraint room. And again, last option. I haven't worked on the de-escalation verbally. I haven't offered the medications yet. So I was like, no, wait. So I offered the medications. They gave him a medication calm enough to like 15 minutes later, by the time I went in, he was able to stand up and they walked him to his room instead of our restraint room, which is different, I think, on every hospital. Because when I went to med school, they definitely did not have a restraint room. They just had it, I think, in their own bed. I can't remember, honestly. I don't think I ever saw this in medical school. Maybe that's probably why it was another reason why I was so stressed and traumatized. Oh no, I've seen restraints go on in the ED, but on the bed. But anyway, and he was still pretty belligerent. He was still verbally aggressive because I didn't give him all these medications. I just gave him one. I learned later to do more medications in different combination. Lessons learned that lasts longer, shorter. And he kept standing up, sitting down. I kept having to ask him to sit back down on his bed, trying not to, we don't like to say, do this or else you'll get the restraint room. I was trying really hard to not say that. And then still ended up, I feel like at one point saying something similar enough. Thankfully, I didn't need to, but I was definitely like hitting myself internally that I was starting to be more reactive. But anyway, let's go back to what we were watching. I'm like a minute in. This is fun, just a fun, like back and forth. Like we talked about the disclosure, and it doesn't have to be true either, especially like for this kid. That's not the purpose. She didn't have to say anything, but you can tell like it really helps. He's having a good relationship with her. He's opening up. Unfortunately, not opening up about himself, if you notice. And that's what I'm noticing as a psychiatrist looking at the video. But overall, it's good. I'm gonna skip forward.
When I hear the word masculine, would be the way that masculine.
This all started because I said you sounded like a granny.
What?
Now you're just going on about masculine stuff.
So then he
Yes.
becomes more verbally, like you can say more defensive more and more throughout the episode as she tries to get to know him, tries to open up about the purpose of why. I really, oh, again, body language. You can tell how he's doing. His head's down, his arms are now crossed. It's those dagger eyes. This is more than just judging. This is almost like I'm protecting myself and something's coming. So if a patient started to go into that closed posture and his shoulders are down and back and his head is down and he's like staring. And so, I don't know, I'm getting like a lion type, like I am going to attack you if you say one more thing. Like And it's important as a psychologist, therapist, psychiatrist, medical student, like you watch those micro expressions and you trust your gut feeling because you'll do it. It's called countertransference. That if you're feeling something, that's your just like we talk about like when taking exams, that's your little gut feeling saying something's off. Listen, always listen to that. Now for the transference thing, if you're feeling something, it's possibly they're also feeling it. And so you can use that, especially with this diagnosis. Okay, I feel like we've been recording for a while now. Do you have the diagnosis yet? Put it down what you think it is. Interesting. He took a breath, but it wasn't a complete breath. It was like it wasn't a, someone who is in control of their emotions, has training with mindfulness, what we teach all, or what we try to teach our patients. It would have been more of a big, deep, a breath, a shoulder roll, like he'd look more relaxed. He looked more tense during that breath. There was something else going on of reminding myself I need to breathe, like subconsciously, but maybe he's holding a negative thought back or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is yet. Are you catching these?
We spoke about your friends, your sister, your mum. We went all over the
Can't remember
place.
saying anything about them.
This is interesting that he stated he can't remember speaking about them, but he definitely remembers speaking to her. There's so many thoughts I have of this. One, did he actually forget? Two, maybe he did, and and it's very possible he did, in the sense of individuals who've been through trauma, it's very frequent to black out things, especially regarding stuff that are traumatic. You'll find out later on he was with his friends. So there's maybe something traumatic that he's closed off in his brain, or his brain is subconsciously protecting, not wanting to think about, or defensiveness, not wanting to talk about them again.
Your mum thinks
What,
of
and now
you.
you want to talk about my dad?
Well, I want to talk about lots of things. I could tell you the questions that I wrote down to talk to you about today, if that helps.
Ooh, providing options. I like that. I have questions. You want me to be open and talk and share them with you. That's a really good strategy. Sometimes I actually rarely come in with actual questions. Like there's a standard template that we go in, like, I need to find out about, on average, are you sleeping? Are you eating? Are you happy? Are you suicidal? But my personal style is to be very open with what it goes and work them in. But obviously, this patient, like, she's been trying that and he's defensive and he wants to be a little bit in control. So providing the option. Do you want to hear what the questions are? Maybe do you want to choose what questions we talk about? Perfect.
It doesn't matter, it wasn't a proper fight.
You're telling me it's not that interesting?
It's not.
Okay, let's move on.
Ooh.
What I'm in.
Oh, I love how she notices he's defensive, doesn't want to talk, and she's okay, we can move on. That's so amazing. Like, it's not the most important thing. And so, as a psychologist and psychiatrist, like, we're constantly doing that. Is this the most important information do I need? I had to do that last night. Is I wasn't getting anywhere with someone, and I was like, okay, what's the most important thing do I know? If they're going to be safe alone, or do they need to be hospitalized? Because they're not going to be safe, or there's a risk of safety. Once I figured that out, I knew it wasn't going to be helpful to try to pull threads to try to figure out different information about this patient. And that's what she's doing too.
Okay, let's move on.
What, I'm in charge now, am I?
So cool that he
maybe.
notices and he's shocked that he gets to control things, that he has that control, which is going to be bad because then he takes advantage of it.
I also wrote down that I wanted to talk to you about what being a man feels like.
You want a cock and balls, do you?
Defense.
I'm interested in what being a man feels
Defense
like.
again. Oh, I don't want to talk about, so I'm going to just throw something to try to hit you, to try to really get any single little thing to get you upset. The diagnosis is being not just defensive, but if you feel uncomfortable with something, make them feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it can come off as joking because, yeah, maybe in the sense, if we hadn't worked with him throughout the past maybe 4 sessions, we would notice if he's a joke or not. Which earlier he was joking, but we talked about it's not all joking. He was also like showing stuff about himself and how he views others. But obviously, he doesn't want to talk about what he believes a man should and should be. It's triggering for him.
A man feels like for you.
I don't know.
Ugh, the I don't know answer. I don't know.
It's too big a question, right?
I get these commonly from boys that aren't used to talking, not used to sharing their emotions, not wanting to. So it's all about learning how to go around it. That's when you need to go, okay, what do you think about this? Provide an example. Or you don't know, what do you know about this? What do you think about this answer? Yes or no? Or really asking other things to really try to pull at strings, try other ways. One way doesn't work, try it a different way. Because you can tell he doesn't want to talk about this, but you need this for this particular example. This is her job of what she needs to get for her role. And I love, oh, and then she goes in and talks about exactly why she's doing things because he doesn't want to respond to another thing. And so she's allowing him to see, oh, why I'm doing it. Like, she's not treating him like a child. Ooh, that's a big one. Like, this kid's 13, 14. You can't treat him like a 5-year-old. And they don't want to be treated like a 5-year-old. You can't treat them like an adult in the sense because obviously a mature adult would have answered the question by now. So there's this really weird middle ground. This therapist does a great job, psychologist. I think this is why a lot of people get nervous around adolescents because they're hard. I've been very lucky, surprisingly, that I've so far, I don't know if it's because I'm younger, which is definitely a possibility. But so far, I've been lucky being able to connect with them. Some of my experiences, I ran an outpatient group therapy with teens, which was helpful. And then right now, I run the inpatient group therapy at work, which they're all young adults, 18, early 20s, late 20s.
It's too big a question, right? And the fight's too small a question.
Interesting. So she's trying to joke. She was noticing she was joking before. She's trying to keep it light with a very tough topic. Because that's one of the reasons why he's in the psych ward. Jail, psych jail.
Rather than saying, so, Jamie, what
Oof, those computers in the background. Talk about safety. That he could break or use them to hurt you.
So do you think it would be okay if we speak about your dad a bit?
Asking for permission, that usually helps. That's another way to bring in a difficult topic by giving them permission to say, can we talk about this hard thing? Because if they say no, you can move on, which would be hard because this is what she's doing. But providing options usually does help. Well, I guess the options were yes, no. If we do need to talk about something, maybe not making a yes, no, maybe say, would you like to talk about this or this?
Can I see your notes? What you've got written down about me?
Do you see me writing anything
You
down?
must write stuff down.
Yes.
Oh my God, him asking for notes. I had a patient do that not too long ago. And I even had medical students come up to me that was like, wait, what should we do? And it's complicated because let's think about why is he asking for the notes? He wants to know what the other person thinks of him. And we've already talked about this earlier. He's very hyper reactive of what does everyone think of me? What does social media, other kids think of me? What does the therapist think of me? What my parents think of me, which is normal, especially for teens. But this we're going to an extreme here. And so I'm not going to get into of like why we don't usually provide the notes in therapy world because sometimes it can make people very in pain. It's painful for people to read what the therapist is writing about when they're not with their therapist or psychiatrist. When they might misunderstand it and get very angry and then explode and then might hurt themselves or someone else. Maybe the therapist isn't ready to tell them a certain diagnosis, but patients do have the right to ask for records and they can receive it. And obviously, some medical places you can't see the notes. It's very complicated. I'll leave that to you to research and look up. Not going to get into it right now. So she's really trying to get a really good idea what the parent is like by asking him how, because this is not just how the parent is in real life, but how this patient interprets the parent, what their relationship is, how the patient sees their relationship, because something that might not be traumatic or that big of a deal can make a huge impact on the child.
He's never hit me.
Okay, go on.
Interesting that
Go
he
on,
jumps
what?
to, he's never
Is that what
hit
this is all
me.
about?
Well, why do you
And
call
then
him
he's now
angry?
even more
just
and
gets
more and
mad.
more defensive,
We all do.
which would make me again start hesitating, think, okay, why did you jump to that? Was that a defense that he has hit you? Has someone else hit you? When a patient says that, sometimes I say, well, the kid jumped to abuse because the therapist didn't go that direction. The patient just brought it up, going down the abuse and trauma route. So sometimes how I talk with patients is I say, if we're in the emergency room, or sometimes patients that I see that come to the emergency room and have symptoms similar to yours, have a history of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. Has something like that happened to you? And it works. People are really good at opening up of no or yes, instead of before I used to be like going through each one. Has anyone ever hurt you? Has anyone ever touched you? Which I guess you can do. But anyway, I'm feeling like I'm going to have to put a lot of triggers at the beginning of this episode. Which honestly, this episode, come on, Netflix, this needed some triggers. I was triggered. Probably I was triggered because I'm a psychiatrist and this was real. This is like sometimes my daily, like when I have really hard patients. He said, we all get mad. I think that's so important to notice that he recognizes that he expresses that emotion and that everyone expresses that emotion. It's good because some people have difficulty expressing certain emotions, and especially in this diagnosis or sometimes in PTSD, strongest emotions are the most common. You can sometimes call them strong mood swings, from being happy 1 second to extremely aggressive, physical, like breaking things. And I'm going to go through the DSM criteria to explain this diagnosis.
He's pulled a shed down once when he was in a proper rage, but that's as bad as it gets.
Were you frightened?
No, I thought it was quite funny at the time.
Interesting. I thought it was funny. Again, defensive. So much defense in him. Even he turns around, oh, I thought it was funny. Like sometimes when you think it's funny, it's like, I'm better. Or it's, oh, instead of being scared of something, I'm going to do the opposite reaction. And he's okay and justifies it. He's saying that his sister thought it was funny too. I thought that was interesting. And mom sent us upstairs. So maybe mom was protecting them. Oh, and again, defensive. He's not like that. That's all. She wants to get an understanding of how
Appropriate adult?
Yeah, because he doesn't judge.
Ooh.
He's a kind person.
kind, doesn't judge. Those are values that he appreciates. And I want to know that. I want to know what he values in life and what he doesn't value, especially when we're talking about, in this specific situation, murder. What does he think about murder? Is it justified? Is it good? Is it bad? Spoiler.
I'm not good at much, but I'm really good at getting out of PE.
How'd you do that then?
Headaches,
Ooh.
hurt my leg,
Oh,
funny tummy.
yes. This makes me so excited. I definitely went into the right specialty. One is the fact that he feels justified and okay with making up stuff to get out of things. It's okay. But also the types of things that he's choosing: headaches, tummy aches. We call that somatization. Let's say he is experiencing those. There is some stress that he's now experiencing in the body, which is again very common. And so this was also like triggering my like ear of, huh? What's he doing? He's making up illness? And even if he isn't making it up, what type of illness? Funny tummy? That's a very big response when little kids, they get stress and emotions they feel in their stomach. IBS, brain gut connection. I could talk on this forever. And he feels so proud of it and so justified. Throat, looking down. Before he was looking at her, he was relaxed and joking. Now he's like closing up. He is opening up emotionally, which is good. You're saying that he used to do something but doesn't do it anymore. Like, I like to see that he's opening up. He's remembering something that because he starts getting very tight, looking away. Something that was very emotionally traumatic for him, his dad looking away from him. Embarrassment, maybe, or at least that's how
Sorry.
Sorry.
he apologized.
I don't know.
Oh, and he's looking away. He doesn't want
Ashamed.
to. He doesn't want to show that emotion.
How did you feel when you saw that? Shame.
Ooh.
You're supposed to say he wasn't.
And then he gets defensive that she doesn't react the way he wants her to react, the way that other people have in society react, or way that
Yeah.
he was expecting, because an expectation is in that sense control. And if you can control the environment around you, you can be safe and you can know that they're not going to leave you. Not encouraging any of these. I'm just explaining the psychopathology that could be for someone who has this diagnosis, or what they're implying by giving this actor these statements and how to act this way. When he repeats sentences that he wishes that the therapist would say, I actually, after I saw this episode, I started using that on my patient because of the reflection. And the patient says, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're stinky. And then asking, has someone actually said that to you? Not in the accusatory, did someone say that to you? And then it makes them think, I guess not. Who is saying it? Is there a voice in their head? Not like hallucination, but maybe repeating this narrative in their head of people not liking them, or maybe one of their abusers saying something mean to them that they keep repeating over and over in their head. And that's why they have such low self-confidence and pain.
You were good at other stuff though, weren't you?
Why do you think that?
You look like you were, and you're clever, so.
What did you...
He idolizes in that by asking like, oh, you were probably good at sports. That shows the relationship they have, of that he's idolizing her. I just listened to a podcast episode on transference focused therapy of patients with this type of mental health condition. When they split, they see the person as all-knowing, as amazing. In that sense, he's showing he values her, that, oh, she has to be perfect. She was probably really good at sports. It's just hard also in society of putting doctors on a pedestal. That's what I try to do with my podcast, showing that doctors are humans. But anyway, for this, we have to be careful. Yes, she's turning it around of him. Ooh, must be hard to feel that way. Oh, I love that. One, she's not assuming that he's in pain, not an assumption. She's being curious. It must feel painful to feel that experience, instead of saying, I'm sorry that you're experiencing that. So important. And also something so the patient can either say yes or no, and then again go into more understanding of, and maybe them also reflecting, how do I feel about that?
I think most people think like that.
Most people think they're bad at everything. The assumption that everyone thinks the same way I do. Difficulty with empathy, difficulty with understanding other people's perspectives, difficulty. This is all in all mental health. I'm thinking they're alone. This could go in so many ways. And so that's why for psychiatry, we take the whole concept. We take everything, not just this one statement they say. But it provides so much of like how he thinks and interacts with the world around him. And in that sense, since most people think they're bad at everything, that means he thinks that he's bad at everything. That means he sees himself negatively and he has low self-confidence. And then overvaluing his sister compared to himself.
I don't know.
Exhaling, he's touching his hand, like you can tell he's upset. Obviously, it's not hard to tell when someone is upset. but he wanted more information and she didn't give him. So he really gets upset when she doesn't give him what he wants. He wanted information about his family. Okay, I can tell. I can tell something's coming. And I'm already like, I'm getting, oh, he's boiling. There, or he's starting to bubble. You can tell what's going to trigger him. That, and this is why talking about thinking, oh, something's happening. So we really need to de-escalate this before this pops. His voice is going up. His face is constricted. He's starting to scream. He's arguing. He's not listening. Yeah. And then this is where the psychologist does not the best job. One, she waited. She started arguing. She did tell him to sit down, but she's raising her voice when you sit down. She should have said it from the moment that he stood up. But I do like it. She does say it directly. If you do not sit down, we're done for today. If you don't do this, punishment will be, this is actually not punishment. This is the removal of a positive thing, which is also a punishment. But yes, you're removing something positive. And she's yelling at him and she's answering his question instead of just saying, sit down. And then him going, screaming, coming too close to him. The second he pushed, oh, okay, it's a close up. Obviously, she's trying to keep a calm face, but you can tell she's still, it's natural. Like her eyes are still wide and surprised because he just hit something, he's yelling. She'd naturally gone back, good and bad. Like it's good from a safety perspective that she moved her body away. It's like in martial arts, in boxing, you naturally want to dodge, but he didn't aim a punch, but he's still coming up to her face. So yes, it would be good to step back, but it would have been a little bit better to have a little bit more neutral, but she is. Oh, I'm going to be like this therapist actor because it's hard. This is hard being yelled like that. Okay, good. The security came in, but you can tell that she's overwhelmed though because her hands on her hips. She's doing a good job. She's standing up and she's leaving, even if it's for a pause, because you have to notice when you yourself need to take a break, and it's so important. I'm so glad. I think this will be a perfect time to pause this because this is so good example of how we need to take care of our own mental health as therapists. Notice when it's important to step away. Notice when it's important. I'm saying this as I'm recording the day after a 24-hour shift. Anyway, taking the time, going on a walk. She moved out of making sure that she's safe. Someone else is taking over and watching the kid. And then I'm so glad they showed this later on where she fully breaks down after the patient has left, really feeling her emotions, really demonstrating how painfully charged. It's not that the psychologist doesn't care. She cares so much. And she's still a human, and it's so hard to be yelled at. And yeah, whew. Okay, I'm gonna pause it there and let's pull up what, if you haven't yet, put in the comments what mental health condition you think it is, because I'm about to tell you. I love this app. It's about the DSM criteria, DSM-5 TR app. I don't get paid. I wish I did because I use it all the time and I refer so many people. But anyway, I'll start by saying it's a personality disorder. And I'm not going to get into all the complications and stress of treatment. That's something else. Right now, we're just talking about noticing this personality disorder in this patient in this TV show. So in the previous DSM-4, it used to be called cluster B. So you might also hear that. And so this is it. A pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects, and marked impulsivity, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts as indicated by 5 or more of the following. I'm going to break it down. Instability of personal relationships. This kid, granted, he's a teenager, but he didn't have close friends. We talked about self-image all throughout. Affects, that's constantly changing, facial, how we looked, affect of happy, then sad, then angry, like all in one 30-minute recording. And that is so real. Oh my God, it is so real. This is why doctors have such struggle dealing with individuals with a personality disorder, even people who are trained and have done this for years. It's hard. It's a headache. It gave me a headache just watching it. And I wasn't even being the therapist. Marked impulsivity, impulsive actions, not thinking before you act, which, yes, is a thing that teenagers do. Think of that extreme, pushing things over, talking about the proportion of something that emotionally hurt them led them to be impulsive, not in the same level. Number 1, frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. At the end of this episode, he really starts like bawling and like he really doesn't like it that it's going to be the last time she sees him. Identity disturbance, marked and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. And this is hard because this is also a trauma response. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, is it PTSD? On the podcast I was listening to. So 2 people have traumas. Let's say the exact same trauma. Only, I think it was like 30% actually develop personality disorder, cluster B. Just like not everyone develops PTSD. However, looking at all the people with personality disorder, it was like super high, like close to 80% had a trauma history. Impulsivity, at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. Spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Say in this TV show, killing someone. That's impulsive and not good. Recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or of self-mutilation. Oh, this is a big one too. And it is definitely a red flag when patients come all the time saying they're going to commit suicide or they do a threat, but then don't actually have intent to do it. Instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. Intense episodes of dysphoria, that means intense sadness, intense irritability, or intense anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. Now, they can have also another disorder, and that's what people forget, is like you can have a personality disorder and have depression or anxiety or bipolar. This is another diagnosis in addition. But this is really key, the short periods of time. Chronic feelings of emptiness, inappropriate or intense or difficulty controlling anger, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. Or on this TV show, killing someone. I've had patients that punch trees, break their hand. Transient self-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. Ooh, okay, so 2 parts of that. Stress-related paranoid ideation. That means when they're highly stressed, they're paranoid about other people, either causing them harm, like they don't feel safe, fearful that they're going to hurt them physically or emotionally, and then severe dissociative symptoms of that they forget and the brain shuts off and disconnects from the extreme emotional reactivity. I'm guessing that when he killed, he was fully dissociated because he was in his intense anger rage. It also makes sense early on that we were saying that he doesn't remember talking about some of the other conversations, which is hard because, yeah, going back to trauma, some of that's also a trauma and PTSD that you're protecting yourself, dissociating so you're not hurt. So that's why our job is so challenging, because we have to figure out all these different things and from these symptoms, from how they're acting. Ooh, this was a new type of episode. I just really wanted to do this because it was an emotional episode, at least for me. Put in the comments if it was for you. Put in the comments if you like this style. I know this is a popular style that like other doctors have done, and I want to share the same thing from a mental health perspective, if it's helpful. Put in the comments if you have any recommendations, any videos or you want my reaction to. My husband and I always like psychiatry, psycho thrillers, and make sure you subscribe. That way we can connect not just with these episodes, but other videos interviewing doctors, medical students, other healthcare providers, really showing the humanity, whether they have health conditions, different struggles in their life. So check out the other episodes on Life as a Patient Doctor. If you are a medical student or you like to learn about what it's like to be in medical school or residency, you can check out those videos too. This is Dr. Moffs, and see you later.